Welcome to Unfiltered and Informed, the show that tackles all the current events and most controversial topics. Tonight, I have with me guest Matt Morgan from the Food and Beverage Insurance Agency. Tonight, we're going to be talking a little bit about everything. We're going to stretch this out to some sports, financial, local news, some economical news. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Dustin.
Absolutely. So tonight, we're going to start with the removal of statues. It's a super controversial topic that everybody's talking about right now. One, I'd like to start with, I'm not against it, but I'm also not for it either. And there's a couple of reasons why. One, Christopher Columbus's statue was taken down, and that just chaps my ass. Like, it bothers me so much because without him, none of us would be here. So it's just part of my own personal opinion. Last, there was a great a group of people went to the Sam Houston Monument in Huntsville this weekend and basically stayed there to make sure that the Black Lives Matter and the other protesters and stuff didn't come and try and deface it or tear it down or whatnot. So I was really proud of that. But the president there of the Black Lives Matter actually put out a statement that said, we are not going to tear up this stuff. We have no reason to. So I'm glad they didn't, regardless. Last, they moved, Hofstra University moved the Thomas Jefferson statue, which pisses me off more than anything. One, he was our third president. He wrote the Declaration of Independence. I mean, this guy was, their argument is that he had slaves and that offended them. One, back then everybody had slaves, regardless of your status or who you were or what you were fighting for. That's way before and close to 100 years before the Civil War. So this is not even on the cusp of slavery ending or abolishment of it. And it just bothers me that they're so coy and they're ready to just jump ship on removing statues and stuff when he was one of our presidents. I mean, like I said, he wrote the Declaration of Independence. He's a forefather of this country. He was a vice president. He was so much to this country, and they're just take him down because a couple of pissed off students don't like him because he had slaves. That's horse shit. Matt?
Well, Dustin, here's my view on the whole thing. I can understand them wanting to take down the Confederate soldiers' statues. I understand when you see it, but there's a better process of doing it, because all we're doing is we're now drawing lines in the sand. It's you versus us, and this country has become so divided over so many issues, and it's always you versus us. And the problem is, on the left, they're not stopping at the Confederate statues. I mean, here are some examples of statues they've taken down that have nothing to do. They've never even owned slaves. For example, the Richmond Police Memorial. Now, they tore it down. Now, the city is fixing it and replacing it. But what does the Richmond police have anything to do with slavery?
Sure.
This statue was to show respect to the police officers that have fallen in the line of duty. Or the Delaware Law Enforcement Memorial. Or the Pioneer and the Pioneer's Mother statue on the University of Oregon. Sure. Again, nothing to do with
the Texas Ranger one.
The Texas Ranger one.
That drove me crazy. I was like, these guys are saving lives. And I get it. Everybody's turning their back on the cops, right? And not everybody, but there's a group of people that are turning their backs on police officers and stuff. And those are the people that keep us safe. Those are the people that when you need somebody and you call 911, that's who shows up, regardless of how bad you think that they're treating people or how your opinion on the George Floyd, which I'm not trying to get into that. I'm just saying, like, that's the argument right now. Like, these are the people that keep us safe. These are the people that make sure that people aren't robbing, killing, stealing, like that. So that bothers me. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries. But you can go down the list, and the point I'm getting at is America has got its past. Some of it's incredible. We saved this planet 2 times in World War I and World War II. But some of it, I will admit, is disgusting and ugly, like slavery. But we're getting to the statues. They didn't stop at the Confederate statues. George Washington is the founding father of this country, and they're tearing down his statue. They're not looking at the body of the work of the man or woman that they're tearing down. But we can go on. Hans Christian Heg, he was a Union Army colonel and an abolitionist. and they decapitated and threw his statue into the lake.
Isn't that crazy? I saw them pulling it out, and they're gonna fix it. And
Right, but or the Civil War monument in Denver that honors the Colorado citizens who served in the Union Army.
Yeah. That's uneducation. That's an ignorant people just wanting to tear stuff up and to be their part in this. Feel like they're included in something when they're not educated enough to make those kind of decisions.
Well, the way I see it, it's not about the riots that are today are not about George Floyd anymore, or any of the other unfortunate people who have been killed by the police or anyone. They're about changing the landscape and the history of this country. I mean, when you're defacing war monuments to World War II veterans like the Tuskegee Airmen, which was an all-black division of the Air Force, or heck, in Portland, Oregon, they tore down a statue of a freaking elk. They are trying to rewrite this history. And what scares me about it is that I have 2 young children, and those 2 young children will never know the great history that America has because they won't have these statues to look at and go, Daddy, what was that about? Or even better, the vandals spray painted all over the National Mall in Washington, D.C. There have been so many peaceful protests, from Martin Luther King to many other civil rights people who have marched there, and they are defacing this. This is not about Confederate statues anymore. This is about destroying this country and turning it into some dystopian socialist, country that, look at Venezuela. And I just, I can go down. I have this whole list of statues that have been destroyed that have nothing to do with the Confederacy, and it's everything to do about destroying American history, rewriting American history. And it's insane. And these statues, again, I understand the Confederate, but there is a better way of doing it so that everyone can come to a peaceful resolution. Put them in a museum, take them down, whatever, but don't tear them down and more or less piss all over the history of this great country.
Sure. Let me stir the pot just a little bit because I think that people will misconstrue what I say here. I'm not even for tearing down the Confederate statues. Not all of them. Clearly, I'm not for slavery or for
of course,
any of that or racism, but some of the statues that are up there are because those guys did wonderful things, not because they were in the Confederate Army. Like they did, and they've done tons of good things for the community. That's why they had a statue of those people, not because the statue doesn't say, oh, this guy was great, he killed everybody, he was no, they did something in their community. And it's not Confederate related, but it's back to Thomas Jefferson. He founded the University of Virginia. I couldn't do the math and tell you how many black students have gotten grants, educations, gone to that school on scholarships. It's just contradictory, or hypocritical. I apologize. Hypocritical to hate on somebody like that and to bring that into a negative light when the reason that those people were put up there is because they did something good. There's highly doubtful that they were up there because they were Confederate or because they have slaves. There's not a single statue that says this guy was great because he had slaves.
Oh, right.
Not one. So
well, and explain to me, why do we tear down Frederick Douglass's statue?
Right. Exactly. They just want to cause problems. They just want to tear shit up. They just want to be seen. They just want to be a part of it. I was watching the Occupy Seattle or whatever it was where they took over the deal, and there's a guy literally, just standing on the edge of the barricades screaming at the cops. The cops aren't even doing anything. They're just there for security, and he's standing on the edge of the barricades that they put up where they trespassed on a public property and made it their own, and he's screaming at them. He's all different stuff. I'm not going to repeat it all, but he's just screaming at them over and over, and they're like, that's great. We're not here to argue with you about it. We're just here for your security, actually, protection, to make sure that nobody hurts you or vice versa. And he just continues screaming and yelling at them. Anyway, we'll get off that topic because it's not my favorite. So moving on, we're going to get into Trump's tax returns. They're supposed to be released. The Supreme Court has judged against his petition to not release them. And I like it. just so everybody knows, like, I'm actually for releasing his tax returns. I'd like to know how much he made. I'd like to know more than anything, because today's tax day, and I had to pay my taxes today. I'd like to know what kind of deductions a billionaire like him uses. You know, like, I'm counting dry cleaning and gas and car expenses and insurance and stupid shit like that. I'll use anything to get a deduction, but I'm curious, and everybody else does too, but I'm curious, what does a billionaire use as his deductions? You know, is there a 200-foot yacht and he's like, oh, luxury, you know, or I'm using this for, you know, clients. I'm really curious. And then, you know, how much does he get paid? I'd like to know from each one of those different categories, because I know he's in real estate. You know, I know he's got, you know, well, I know that he gives all of his money up from his POTUS paycheck. But I'm just curious, like, what kind of money has he got? Where's it coming to? How many taxes is he paying on it? Matt, care to?
Well, you know, here's the thing about Trump's tax returns. I don't give a shit. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's baked into his supporters. His supporters do not care. And, you know, Harry Truman said, you can't get rich in politics unless you're a crook. Why don't we start looking at, and I'm not just saying Democrats here, I'm saying Republicans, all these Republican and Democrats that are getting into office. One of my favorite, Nancy Pelosi, worth over $100 million, making $100 and something thousand a year. Who cares? I was never for them releasing. If he doesn't want to release it, that's his right, you know. And there's no law saying he has to release it. I'm glad it's over. If he does get forced to release it, then I'm glad it's over. I know they think he's hiding some Russian conspiracy. Woo! We spent 3 years going over that crap, and we saw there was absolutely nothing there. It was a nothing burger, and this will be a nothing burger.
I want to interrupt there, because I love that Trump, as much as the Russian conspiracy and him, you know, having anything to do with it, he's so busy and he's doing so much every day. Never at any point do I think that he was like, hey, reach out to Vladimir. Let's have a conversation. Like, let's help this out. That never happened. Like, that's so far beneath him. And that's the point, you know, like, and, you know, being a businessman and being, you know, in situations like that, you never take yourself down to that level. You know, like, regardless if it happens, you don't know about it, but you never go, hey, you know what? Let's get Putin on the phone and see if he can help us rig this election. That kind of shit just never happens.
Most ridiculous thing. I mean, let's look at the facts. This man, our president, has done more to hurt Russia since he's gotten into office than Obama ever did. Let's not forget, it was Obama who leaned over and said, after this election, I'll be a lot more freer to do things, when he didn't think he was on a hot mic. The point I'm getting at is, if Trump is a Russian spy, he's a really, really bad one. I don't know which one he is. Is he a worst racist, or is he a worst Russian spy? Because he has got to be one of the world's worst racists out there. I mean, he loves my people, the Jews. He moved I know I'm getting off subject here, and I apologize. He moved the embassy back to Jerusalem, or to Jerusalem, where it belonged. But anyway, we're getting off topic there. No, I think that they're not going to find anything other than that he's worth a whole hell of a lot of money.
Oh, sure.
Actually, worth less today than he was the day before he became president.
Certainly, he's had to divest out of tons of projects. One thing that I do want to know is, why doesn't he want to release it? Is there something that's shady? And I'm sure everybody does a little bit of shade, you know, on their tax returns. But what is he hiding it because he doesn't want somebody to see something specific, or is there a deeper cause to that? You know, like, is he?
I think it's a little bit of just like me.
Or
I don't think it's anyone's damn business how much money he makes, nor is it yours how much I make.
Sure.
You know, and I think that he wants to keep that private. You know, maybe he's not worth $3.2 billion like he said. I believe that's what the number was. Maybe it's only 1.8 or 2.2. But you know what? After $1 billion, you're freaking rich. So it really cares. So I think I just think it's a nothing burger. I think it's built in to his supporters. Do not care. I think that at the end of the day, this will be a passing in the wind. It won't be something we will be talking about in November at all.
Well, I had a question, not my personal question, but on the website, and it says, when will Trump's tax returns be returned or be released? And they won't. Well, they'll be released, but it won't be anytime soon. They've just resubmitted another subpoena to say that the reason that they're asking for him is to slander his name before the auction, for the election, and so they've resubmitted this, and they'll go through a lower court to decide when they'll release him. And even when they do release his tax returns, none of us will see it. It'll be sealed in the the Attorney General or the Attorney's office will be able to see that stuff, and not unless they bring an indictment will any of us ever see that as public knowledge. Like, it'll always be sealed unless they indict him. So the odds of us actually seeing that are slim to none, and for not a very, very long time before we get to see those.
And I guarantee it'll be after the election, and it wouldn't matter, because if you're a Trump supporter, it's built in that you didn't get to see it. And it was a nothing burger in 2016, and it'll be a nothing burger in 2020.
Agreed. Moving on, we'll get right to the next one. The fake racism hoax that happened at the Texas A&M campus blows my mind. It's some of the funniest shit that I've heard in a long time, and it's not, racism is never funny. Don't misconstrue my words or try and take that out of context or spin it the way you want to. A dipshit named Isaiah Martin drew up fake racism quotes and put them on his own car, and then called the cops and said, I was a target of racism. He wrote, "All lives matter. You don't belong here." They used the N-word. I shouldn't have said they. He used the N-word. And then all of the surveillance that they've done, the College Station police did their whole investigation and basically told him, you're shit out of luck. They didn't bring charges to him, which I feel like if this gets any bigger, they're going to end up pressing charges on him for a false report or a false police report, somewhere along those lines. His best bet is just to leave it alone. Like, you already acted like an asshole. You already faked another Jesse Smollett bullshit racism claim. Let it go, because if you don't, then you're going to be in a hot boil of water, because they're going to file charges against you if you don't leave it alone, and those are going to be felony charges for making a false report.
Well, here's what I want to say about this. And this is the topic that I've been looking forward to talk about. So, first of all, as I mentioned before on the statues, this country's becoming about us versus them. And this may sound a little unpopular, but I think these fake hoaxes do more damage to this country's continuity than an actual real hate crime. And here's why I think that, before anybody sits there and goes, oh, this guy's a racist. Here's the reason why. The only people who actually support somebody who commits a hate crime on someone are the lowest of the low, the biggest pieces of shit that this country or this world has. So it doesn't divide people like you or me, because we're on the side of the person who was damaged in the hoax. I mean, in the actual a real hate crime. Because I feel sorry for someone. You should be able to go wherever you want and do whatever you want, no matter what color you are or what sexual orientation or what gender. It should not matter. But when you do one of these hate crime hoaxes, all you end up doing is dividing this country in anger. Again, I have a list of some here. I'll give you a couple short ones. A little 12-year-old girl named Amari Allen at Emmanuel Christian School in Springfield, Virginia, said that white students held her down and cut her dreadlocks off and called her nappy. It went so far that one of the wasteful people, part of the squad, Representative Rashid Tlaib, who, like AOC, I hope loses her reelection, blamed Trump simply because Mike Pence's wife, Karen, teaches art part-time at that school.
Oh, wow.
No one in the media, and this is the part that upsets me, the media automatically 100% believes the person, and that is, I'm not saying you should not believe anyone who turns in a crime, but they jump all over it, and no one in the media even asked one student. This happened at recess, supposedly. One student, did you see anything? No, they just ran with the story and destroyed lives. One of my when I say favorite, is the Christian school I can't remember the name of the kid, where he was standing in front of the Indian and the CNN and Washington Post. They only showed a short little video of it, so they ruined the 16-year-old's life.
Well, they didn't. Let me interrupt you just for a second. I have two things I wanted to interrupt there. One, they didn't ruin his life because I think that he sued for like $100. It was $100 million that he ended up getting into that settlement.
I don't know if he got that.
Well,
much.
right, but they're going to get real close.
Yeah.
Regardless of that, his life wasn't ruined. But
the point I'm getting at, he will always be looked at as a racist when he didn't do anything. Once the whole video comes out,
sure.
You got
I agree.
Jesse,
I remember watching him just standing there.
All he's doing is standing there,
smiling. I like that part.
And you got Jesse Somet.
Oh,
everyone jumped on him, believing that he was. They didn't ask anything. All of a sudden, it was true. And see, Trump is a racist because someone said MAGA and was wearing a MAGA hat. And it turns out it was fake. It was
no, it was definitely fake news. I'm so glad that guy has just been blackballed. From nobody wants to put him on a show now. Like his acting career is completely over.
I hope he never works again.
Me either.
Or you got the Duke lacrosse team in 2006 that were Crystal Magnum said that they raped her, and in the media again all over it destroyed these 3 boys' lives, and they did nothing wrong.
Right.
I can go on, but it goes back to what I said before. These fake crimes or hoaxes, they divide us because now we have to pick a side. Do we believe the so-called injured that nobody's asking questions, nobody's putting them, to the test, or do we believe this innocent, which more times than not turns out to be innocent person, and whose lives are ruined because the internet now it's up there, it's gone. Sure. There's no taking it back. Oops, I messed up.
Sure. No, just to add to that, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'll let you finish. The Isaiah Martin deal that happened in A&M, he blamed it on a kid walking his dog, and luckily the police department did not pursue that very deeply. Like they did all their intelligence, and did all of the investigation and found out that the kid wasn't even close enough to the car to do it. He just walked by the car, but he literally pointed the guy out and was like, he did it. And I'm like, come on, man. Like same thing. You could have ruined this kid's life, over what you needing some attention.
Exactly. And right now with everything going on in the world, you would think this is the last thing we need is another hoax. But just in Oakland, there was some ropes hanging from a tree, and someone said, "Oh, look at these are nooses." A black man tweeted out, "It's not a noose. They were used to climb up a tree, and they had been there before." And the Oakland mayor, even knowing that they were not nooses, came out and said, and I quote, "Intentions do not matter. We will not tolerate symbols of hate in our city. And the nooses at Lake Merritt will be investigated as hate crimes," even though it was not a hate crime. It was another left-wing hoax to try to divide this country. And that's the thing about these. They are only meant to divide us. They are not... Once they get out, like I said, someone's life is ruined.
Well, let me say this. I don't know that the people that are doing this are necessarily trying to divide us. I don't think that they're even intelligent enough to put that together and be like, hey, I'm going to do this shit just to divide people. They don't understand the repercussions of what they're doing is what's dividing us. Like that's the sad part. Like they're doing this for attention. They're doing this to try and be a part of something.
Oh yeah, they're mentally defective.
But they don't understand the repercussions. Like I said, like this is dividing us because you have to pick sides in that situation, and it's happening everywhere. And that's just sad. And I hope that the people that see this and spread this and share this, see that and can convey that to them too. Be like, hey, if you're going to do some dumb shit like that, really think about it. Like, because you're just causing more problems. You're not fixing anything. Like, what does any of these fake racism hoax solve or help in any way? It's nothing. It's only costing tax dollars for the police to do their job, inconveniencing some kid walking his dog. Like it's only costing money and causing more issues than it's actually bringing any kind of light to.
Exactly.
All right.
And it's really sad because what it also does is it takes away attention from the horrible real ones.
Sure.
Because racism is disgusting, and it comes in all forms and all shapes from all kinds of people. But we should not be making fake ones. But you know what? One little glimmer of light from that. the fact that we have to fake racist hoaxes shows how non-racist this country really is.
Sure, absolutely.
If this country was such a racist country, these hoaxes would be real, and they'd be happening all the time. Again, I know there are real ones, and they should be, the people who do it should be punished. But this just shows me that this country is not as racist as the media and many people on the left wanted to make it out to be.
Sure. Yeah, it's propaganda. I had a conversation with a girl last night, and that's all she could talk about was all of this is similar to, and I normally don't even want to bring it up, but similar to the Nazi situation where they would try and use propaganda to, and that's all they would do is use fake news basically to try and sway the decisions and sway the minds of everybody else. And that's kind of what and I'm not just pointing at Black Lives Matter, but the people that are following that idea are doing. It's propaganda. They're using bullshit to try and get their point across and to get other people to believe like they do, when that's all it really is. It's bullshit. Like all of these hoaxes, like that's really what it boils down to. So,
well, it's funny you say that, because just a little sidebar here. I'm Jewish, so this has a meaning to me.
Sure.
There's a lot of similarities that the left is doing right now that the Nazi Party did to Germany prior to them in camp, putting Jews into camps, by taking away our rights, our guns, by dividing us along racial lines. There are people who are, I just firmly believe, are moving us down a path where being a certain color is wrong, and that color is white. Or and it's a wrong thing, and you're automatically bad because you're white. And I know we're going to talk about the cancel culture in a little bit, and it's just, there's some similarities that are happening that are scary, and I think that it's time that the people on the right, and I wish our leaders would stand up, our Republican leaders, and we need to stand up and say enough is enough.
No, I agree. That's almost exactly what she said. I didn't purvey it as well as you did, but that's exactly what she was saying. She was like, man, there's so much similarity, between then and now, and it's sad. So anyway, we're going to move on from that. And it's not just moving in a different direction. We're going to get into a little bit of sports, because we do a little bit of everything here on Unfiltered and Informed. But sports right now is such a hodgepodge, of what's actually going on. Westbrook, we're both Houston guys, both basketball fans as well, and season ticket holders. But Russell Westbrook catching the COVID, and how it's going to impact the season. The rest of the team left to go to Orlando to start training, to get ready for the season that's coming up.
Harden got there today.
Did he?
Yeah, today, I believe, or maybe it was yesterday, finally. And there was rumors that Harden had it as well, but that's obviously not true. And we talked about this a little bit. My concern is, how are we going to finish the season? I'm glad if he was going to get it, I'm glad he got it now, because now we know in 2 weeks he'll be over it, and we won't have to worry about losing our second best player on the team. But I don't know what do you do mid-season with a player like Westbrook or LeBron or the Greek Freak get it?
I said it last week, man. If one of these players gets it anywhere in the season, everybody that's been in contact with him has to go into quarantine, has to be, tested, and has to go through their protocols to not spread it to everybody else. Like, right. It's so irresponsible for these guys. And I get it's a money move. Like the league needs the money, the ESPN needs the money, the league and the players. I don't know if they necessarily need the money as much. They do.
Someone's got to buy his baby mama a new car.
Well, it's not even that. Like, I try to put it in perspective for somebody else. So me living under my budget, and a basketball player living under their budget's just bigger. That doesn't mean that they don't have bigger bills to pay. So they need the money just as much as anybody else. So I'm on board with that. But starting the seasons is just irresponsible.
I agree.
Because if one person gets it, we're going to shut the whole thing down, and that's going to be catastrophic. Like, what if that happens at a game where somebody leaves the game? Just example, the Spurs and the Rockets play Thursday night, and somebody leaves that next day and has it. Every single person that was at that game last night, coaches, staff, they're exposed to it. And we're gonna shut down the entire team. I mean, that's the part that I'm talking about. Like, to be responsible about this, they have to just shut it down completely.
I mean, the only sport I see that we could still play is like golf and baseball, definitely, because there is just social distancing, and the fact that other than if you're on base, that everybody's so spread out. I just don't see how the season's going to end. I mean, be able to be completed.
Better than that, let's just put this in perspective. What if we go to the World Series? Let's just put any championship, NBA, MLB,
Super Bowl.
put any one of those games out there, and one of the players gets caught right in the middle of, say, a 7-game World Series. Somebody gets it, and you lose half the team. How do you give a championship? You lose 7 players. Just for example, you use 7 players, and they can't play because they've been quarantined. How do you give a ring to even the Astros at this point? You know, like,
right.
I wouldn't care who it would be there. If you had to take out an entire team or a number of players, it's over. Like, there's no way to not put an asterisk on that and be like, oh, yeah, COVID, no championship.
I mean, look, I love sports. I miss sports. I'm watching Bad News Bears, not the new one, but the old one from when we were kids.
How's it good on
With
Walter Matthau?
Walter Matthau, yeah, because I need my sports. It's like a drug for me. But I understand the money side of it, but I just think it's not going to happen. It's just I think they're not taking into account, like you said. In basketball, they have 12 players on a team. What if your 3 best players?
Sure.
There you go. There's your season.
That's right.
There's your season right there. Or there's the playoff series or whatever.
How does that not come up? Like, I feel like the commissioners and the league owners, or the team owners, and the general managers and the people that run these front offices, how does that not come up to them? Do they like, fuck it, we need to get paid, we need to start these games back up? How do they not have a conversation like you and I are having? I'm not near as smart as them, but how do you not think about that? Like, hey, what if we do get into the playoffs and 3 people get knocked off? What if we get into the wild card game and we lose 2 people? You know, it's a
money grab. That's all it's about. Let's see how much money we can make before we have to shut down.
Sure.
That's all it is.
Agreed. Staying on sports, the Washington Redskins are changing their name, and that blows my fucking mind. So everybody watching this, you can get your feelings hurt, or you can agree with me. I don't really care. So everybody that is watching this, the Washington Redskins owner named that team in 1933 because the coach and 4 players were all Indians, and he wasn't. It wasn't out of malice. He wasn't trying to insult them. He wasn't trying to oppress them. He was saying, I want my team to be like Redskins, to be like Warriors. I want my team to go out on the field and fight like these Indians that we're talking about, these Redskins that we're talking about. That's where it came from. There was no malice there. There was no intention to insult these people, and there's definitely no oppression. So the people that are getting their feelings hurt about that name being the Redskins can kiss my ass. And I say that proudly because, one, my grandfather's Indian, so I don't really care how you feel about it to begin with, but I understand where they're coming from too, and I would be proud to have been a Redskin at any point. I was a football player. I'm a Cowboys fan, so it changes a little bit for me. You know, it's not that, but I still, great. Now the haters come on, and our engineers were on another sports broadcast of mine, so they know the whole background behind the Cowboys. Anyway, that's just chicken shit to me. That's people bitching and complaining about things that have nothing to do with them. In 1971, the owner of the team actually went to a neighboring tribe, and the chief of the tribe drew the what do you call it? Their logo. Like, he drew that logo. And I doubt he was very pissed off about it, that he had to draw this logo and give it to this football team. So the actual Indians and the people that were around even before and after that, and even my grandfather's grandparents, none of those people are like, oh, we need to change this name. This is a bunch of pussies that are just bitching and complaining, don't have anything else to talk about. They're like, y'all need to change the name. And if there's any Indians, that Native American Indians, and that have a problem with this, or that just have thoughts about it, please comment on the show, talk to us about it. Like, I would love to hear some feedback on this, because I feel like everybody's pretty on board with where I am. So if you don't feel that way, I'm fine with that. I would love to debate it. I would love to talk with you about it. So comment, share it with your Indian friends. Like, I would love that. Matt?
I mean, well, here's my thing about it. Are we going to be is it going to be the Houston non-binaries? Is it going to be the Dallas no names, so we can't offend people? Because you know what? I'm offended by the the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, as I always say, my children can be anything they want in this life, but two things: a Democrat or a Cowboys fan. So, I mean, the point I'm getting at is every someone's going to be offended by something, whatever you call it. I mean, the Green Bay Packers. Well, they're named after a packing company back whenever they were founded. Well, that might offend someone who's in the packing business. I mean, the point I'm getting at is you can't worry about offending a small group. And this is a multi-billion-dollar company who is making millions of dollars on their products that are now being canceled by certain companies because of a logo.
Sure.
It's just ridiculous. Something will always offend somebody.
Because you emphasized on the cancel, and we might as well just bring up the cancel
my
culture.
segue.
So I'm glad you said that, and it bothers me. One, being I'm nobody, but speaking, like if I say something, people right away are gonna be like, "Fuck him, cut him off." Like, don't follow his shit. They'll tell all their friends, "Don't follow him." That's the cancel culture that we're talking about. And that bothers me because there's so many sheep out there that just follow the trend. Say, don't watch Dustin. He said, keep the Redskins name and fuck the Indians. Have no clue. They could cut that up however they wanted to. They could cut it up, the Jesse Smollett stuff that I talked about, the Black Lives Matter stuff that I talk about. I'm pretty neutral on most of that stuff, and I'm try to be educated when I make my decisions. But there's plenty of people out there that'll say, don't watch that guy because he's an asshole or he has a strong opinion about one thing or the other. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the cancel culture and bringing in entertainers and stuff in that. They say one stupid thing, nobody's buying their records. They say something, nobody watches their movies.
Well, I mean, right now we're dealing with it with Goya. All the CEO of Goya did was say, Trump is doing a good job. I support this man. And now all of a sudden, thanks to one of my least favorite people in the entire world, AOC, they want to cancel them out and tell people not to buy their product. Well, I live in a Latin household. My wife's Colombian, and that is a mainstay in our house. So I can pretty much speak for most Hispanic people with a big fuck you to AOC and the cancel culture when it comes to Goya. I bought some today just for the sake of saying stick it to me. Stick it to you though. I mean, the point is we live in a country. The First Amendment of the Bill of Rights is the freedom of speech. I should be able to say whatever I want. And I'll tell you what, if you don't like what I have to say, do what I do when I hear someone else say something I don't like to say. I tune them out. I go watch cartoons, go watch sports, whatever. But you know what I don't do?
I didn't know you watched cartoons.
I got a 9-year-old son. Hey, I love my my Star Wars cartoons, Clone Wars, baby. But the point I'm getting at is go do something else. Sure. Click off my Facebook page. Go to another article. Watch a different show. But to try to cancel and destroy a person's life, or in this case, a company. You're wanting to take down a company who employs how many, most likely Hispanics, because the CEO supports Trump? Big deal. But you want to destroy people's lives.
That's her move. Like, she wants to tear people down and divide people. And I actually follow her and watch her stuff.
Oh, I do too, because I get a good laugh.
I get a good laugh out of it, especially because like when she's all tweaked out on Adderall and stuff, like you can tell like she does the dumbest shit and just babbles like. And we all know those girls or those guys, that take Adderall or whatever they're on that day, and just talk the dumbest shit. And the whole time I'm listening to her, I'm like, I don't think you've even thought about the words that are coming out of your mouth. I think this is just the shit that is on the tip of your tongue at the moment. Like there's zero thought that goes into it.
Well, it's just the whole thing with the cancel culture is that it's a left wing. You don't see any conservatives canceling people out. We believe in free speech. I remember a day when the left was the ones who were defending free speech, but now they're the ones who want to take our speech away. Because we don't like what you say. Well, you know what? I have the right to say what I want. And I don't care what you think about what I have to say. But you shouldn't be destroying people's lives. I mean, there are people whose lives are completely destroyed, never to work again, and not in a real good job because of one little text or one little tweet, or because they were at a party and they said this, or maybe they wore an offensive cartoon, a Halloween costume, whatever, and they're wanting to destroy these people's lives. But the part that I love about it is I do like it when I see them canceling out their own, because the left loves to eat their own, and they will keep doing that. I mean, they're one day they support you, and then that next day you say something that they don't like, and next thing you know, they're against you.
Sure. We're going to move on to some financial news. But before we do that, Finance Tonight brought to you by Tyrant Racing and Classics, sales, service, and they also rent for weddings, birthdays, photo shoots. You can reach them at 281-631-3474 or www.tyrantrnc.com. Like I said, Tyrant Racing, they do sales, high-end exotics and classics, but they also rent their cars and drivers for weddings, birthdays, photo shoots, you name it. They're your company to go to for all your highline and classic needs and race cars. But in the financial news, last week I touched on some stuff, and I wanted to catch back up to that because I gave you guys some advice. I hope you guys took some of it, because last week when I told you the trajectory that this market's going on, we're up 5%. The Dow is up 5% right now. And I wanted to give you guys just a little foresight. If you guys are looking for a stock, do your own research. Pick it yourself. Don't do it just on but do a little research. Groupon right now, they're up 6% since last week, and be prepared to buy. Maybe not today or tomorrow because we're on this rally right now, but Friday or Monday is going to be a really good time to buy, and I'll tell you why. Earnings are coming up on the 28th of this month. They had a subpar first quarter, but right now all of the companies and everybody is looking for deals. So I'm sure if you're watching this right now, you've already looked on Groupon trying to find deals on things to do right now. I own a car wash, and I've seen my numbers from Groupon go through the roof, where I'm talking about 40, 50, 60% gains from last year. But just since the COVID has hit, it's over 300% that we've gained from them and the users that they're using. So this isn't coming from a guess. This is me seeing it and tracking it throughout COVID, that Groupon, when they release these next set of second quarter numbers, are going to be through the roof. So if you're looking for a good stock to buy, wait till this rally ends, and there's going to be a sell-off. Be prepared. There's going to be a little dip. We've been 4 days now consecutively where we've gone up, 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 up. Probably Friday, people are going to be taking their gains. People are going to sell out of their positions. They're going to take some money off the table. That's when the stock's going to come back down a little bit. Get some. Be prepared for this dip. Be prepared to buy this week or even Monday morning. Be prepared, because their earnings are coming up on the 28th. And I promise you, if you buy now, whenever they report those earnings, the earnings should be way up. And it's going to be a really good stock to buy. So take my advice or don't take it, but that's one that you can take home with you and make some money.
All right, all right, all right.
That's great. We're going to take a left turn just a little bit. We do politics, we do sports, we do financial, we do a little bit of everything here. And one of the factors that we do is a little entertainment. So Matt and I both have a similar story. We've been friends for a long time, but we have a very similar story. And I'll go first, and then maybe actually, Matt, you want to go first?
Sure.
Let's let Matt go first.
So we're talking about our adventures in motorcycling. I had just gotten divorced. This was many, many years ago, and I decided I wanted a motorcycle. Now, mind you, I had never been on a motorcycle at this point in my life, but I wanted one. And in true fashion of who I am, I didn't start with a little shit motorcycle. I went off and got a Bourget, and if any of y'all know what a Bourget is, it's pretty much a custom chopper. Beautiful, beautiful bike. I bought it on eBay. I might have been a little drunk when I did it. So I got the bike. I had to get some work done on it, so we took it out to a place called Big Dogs out. That's not out there anymore, but it's in Katy, or was in Katy, with a really good friend of mine, Jason. And
Jason O'Hara, I love you, man. I hope you're doing well. Look forward to seeing you soon. I love you. Get healthy. Yes. Get better, so you can be back out here with me and Matt.
Cream of the crop kind of guy.
Absolutely.
So anyway, the idea is Jason was going to ride it home. This was we had to be out there at 6 a.m. So of course, you got to be out there at 6 we just decided it was best to stay up all night. So we get out there because we wanted to be first in line, so they would fix the bike. Jason was going to ride it home, and then we were going to go find a parking lot, and I wasn't going to leave the parking lot until I learned how to ride this monster. So they get it done, and I'm like, Jason, all I want to do is ride it from the back to the front of the store. You can take it home. I just want to be the first one of us to ride this thing. I get on it, and it's so beautiful and so loud. I felt like a real man for the first time. I take off. I might make it 100 feet. Bike gets away from me, and I run straight into a parked pickup truck, go right over the handlebars. No helmet. No business being on it, but no helmet. I ended up getting a compound fracture. I had to get 14 stitches in my face. I was picking pebbles out of my body for probably a week. What? And the funny part of it all is to stabilize me, they took me into the showroom to lay me out because it was a hot day. I can't imagine how much business I cost them that day. How many people might have walked in there going, I think I want to get him. Oh, I don't want a motorcycle now. This guy's bleeding out. It was... And the crazy thing is, of course, I lied to my mother on how I had the accident until an ex-girlfriend of mine's son happened to tell my mom the truth. But, I'm still a little bit of a mama's boy. But, it was – I tried getting on the bike again, and every time I did, it just scared me, so I had to get rid of it. But
that was a beautiful bike. I loved that bike.
It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. Like I said, it was well beyond my abilities. But how about you?
I've got a similar story, but I was much younger, and all of my friends were getting motorcycles. Mark Scott is the reason that I got my motorcycle. His mom got him a motorcycle when he graduated from high school, and so I had to get one, and I saved up, and I went into the Kawasaki. I know it was a Suzuki dealership, and all I wanted was the red, white, and blue GSXR. It was like one of the hottest street bikes back then, and I was like, gotta have it. So I go into the dealership, and I looked over all of them, and this one was out like in Kingsland, Texas. So I drive way out there, and it's up on the platform. It's all raised up. It's like their premium bike, and I'm super young, I'm like 19 years old, and I'm like trying to get a salesman to help me. I'm like, man, I want to get this bike, and they're all kind of looking at me sideways. I look super young then. Even then, I probably looked like I was 15. But anyway, I'm like, I want that bike, and the salesman's like, well, we'll get a credit app. Like, do you have somebody to co-sign for it? And I was like, hell no, man. Like, I'm ready. I brought cash. I was like, I want that bike right there. And he was just shocked. I mean, he was floored. So he's like, hell yeah, get this bike going. Like, they pulled it down, put a battery. It didn't even have a battery in it. They put a battery in it. They pull it out on the front, like right in front of the front doors. They're taking pictures. My buddy's sitting there in the car watching. Start the motorcycle up, let it run for, a few minutes, let it warm up. And I get on, just ready to haul ass and get back to Houston. And I lit the clutch out. And the first time I lit the clutch out, 0 miles. Not a single mile. This bike has never gone anywhere. It spins over. And slams down on the ground. Right there. Brand new motor. 0 miles. Smashed it into pieces. And not into pieces. It really wasn't that bad. And I was confused. Like, I was genuinely confused. I was like, what just happened? And the best part about it was this mechanic from the back walks out there, and he was like, dude, what the fuck? Why would y'all give him that motorcycle with armor all over the tires and shit? And I was like, yeah, why the fuck did y'all put that motorcycle out there with armor all on the tires and stuff? So the manager comes out there. He's like, man, I am so sorry. He's like, look, you pay for the new fairing and the decals and stuff on it, and we'll do all the labor and everything for free. Like, we'll give it a 50-50 shot here. Like, we apologize. So they fixed the motorcycle for me. And the funny part was, he was like, you just want to leave it here with us? And I was like, hell no. I was like, I can't wait to ride this thing. Can y'all wipe that shit off the wheel? Yeah, right. So I can get home. So,
the kicker of mine was, I figured I got it on a Thursday. I figured I'll get insurance on Monday. Wrecked the bike with no insurance. And I'm in the insurance business. So you think I would have thought about that one. No.
That's great. Talking about vehicles, I'm glad that we're kind of on the motorcycles and stuff. Ford's new Bronco is coming out. They released it. They've shown a ton of pictures. I don't know what's real and what's not. I haven't seen one in person. I've just seen online stuff, but I'm super excited. And I know Chris Amez. Love you too, Chris Amez. But Chris Ibanez, old friend of mine, good friend of mine, owns the Fit Type. Performance model founded in science, powered by grit, inspired by you. It's a health company. They do personal training, but they also do meal prep. They'll go through all your blood work. They'll treat you right. They'll get you. He's trained a ton of Ironman athletes. Like, he's a fantastic guy, very knowledgeable, highly educated, the fit type. Great. Call Chris, 832-596-8474. He's already got one ordered is the reason that I even bring that up. He's got one ordered. He's trying to talk me into getting one. I would love to have one. I just don't know if I have garage space for it right now because I've got a couple of cars in the garage. But the Bronco is supposed to be the renaissance for Ford right now because they've been in the doghouse for so long that the truck's coming back out, and it should make a big splash. Go check it out. If you have any comments on it, let us know. We'd love to see if you have any pictures of it. Post them. We'd love to see that as well.
Is OJ their spokesman? Yeah! They're giving him a white one for free?
That'd be great. He could use one right now. Actually, he's like I saw a meme the other day, and he's like, he's the one living on top of life right now,
Yeah,
you know? Anyway.
Got away with murder.
Yeah. And then the other part to the Explorer, the Bronco that brought up was the Ford employees complaining and making a petition about not making cop cars anymore. And that just blew my mind. I know you'd.
I love the response of the CEO. How does a cop car play, or how's that racist? The fact that he stood up to his employees is exactly what we need right now to stand up to this council culture that we live in. He pretty much told his employees, F you, we're still making these cop cars. And, and that kind of just leads into this war against the police, and it's just ridiculous. And I'm glad to see Ford stands up. I've never owned one, not that I can think of. Don't know if I ever would, but this would definitely play in their favor for me to ever buy one.
Oh, for sure. And this is what bothers me. The racism card that they bring, like, who do you call when shit goes wrong?
The cops.
The cops. Like, that's the first person that you call, like when shit goes wrong. And it just bothers me that that's such a scapegoat. Like, they're
100%.
always looking for some reason to cancel something. I mean, I didn't even mean to bring this into, the cancel culture that we're talking about, but them wanting to not work because they're building cop cars. What do you want them to do? Ride bicycles?
Right.
I mean, what would you, and this is better than that. Would you prefer that they drove a foreign car? And then if we stop making cop cars, what are you going to do with those employees that aren't making cop cars anymore? Right. We're going to drag down another huge company that employs thousands and thousands of people of every color. Ford, because it's an American company, isn't 99% white workers in there. It's every different race, nationality, ethnicity. We don't want to take jobs away from anybody at any point right now. Like, we're already struggling enough. So to stop making cop cars because you think it's racist, you're a fucking idiot. Excuse my language, but this is unfiltered and informed, and that's just ignorance. Anybody that has a problem with that, hop on right now. Comment. Ask some questions. I'm willing to take them. I'll take questions from anybody. At no point will I dodge a question. So get on there, comment, send it to the Facebook. We're ready.
Now, this just to go on that war on cops there for a second. It goes back to how the media is addressing this. In Detroit, I can't remember the gentleman's name. A guy pulled out a gun, fired it at the cops. The cops shot and rightfully killed him because that's what he deserved. And they are protesting the cops for killing someone who shot at them. And people are wanting to get these cops fired, their lives destroyed for defending themselves. And I know that kind of is a stretch on what we were talking about, but I'm a big supporter of the blue. I back the blue, and I think that this war on them is ridiculous, and it's only going to blow up in the face of the people who need them the most. Because someone like us, we live in nice neighborhoods. We're going to have our protection. It's the inner city that is going to suffer the most. The people, it always is. The people who can afford it the least are the ones who get affected the most by these radical defund the police or any of these left-wing things. They're the ones that get hurt the most because they're the ones who are on the tightest budget. They can't afford to hire a private police force. Where I live, trust me, if they defunded the police, my neighborhood would hire its own police force.
Sure. No, you made a great comment. Like, and that's why I advocate so much for spending the money with the law enforcement and the fire department and the people that are in those neighborhoods that are being used the most, because that's where the most ambulances get called. That's where the most fire departments get called. That's where the most cops get called, is in those lower income neighborhoods.
Of course.
That's why I want to spend the money to train those guys. But more than anything, spend some time in those communities. And they wouldn't be there if they weren't trying to help. Like, they're not there to cause problems. They're there to help you.
I mean, what kind of person takes a job for $50,000, $60,000 a year that he doesn't know if he's coming home?
Right.
Someone who loves his community. Sure. Someone who does it from the kindness. I ain't doing it.
Well, the other thing, I don't mean to interrupt you, but if we spent more money there, if we had more funds available for police officers,
better training. Not
just training, but
better people.
Better people. Money. That's right. Like, we're getting a $50,000 caliber person to work that. If we're paying those guys $150,000 to be police officers, or even put it on a higher note, which I think our police officers and all of our first responders, teachers, fire department, EMSs, you name it, like nurses,
making at least $100,000.
If we switched it and we gave their money to NBA players and NFL players and baseball players and stuff, and gave them $1 million, do you know what the kind of good that we could do? Can you imagine if your police officers and we're getting paid the kind of money where a person like you or I, or, you know, and I'm not even trying to separate us. I'm saying a higher caliber person, a person with a better education, a person with a higher moral standard that makes that kind of money, was your police officer every single day, you know, that just on a patrol car, not a detective or somebody in the higher office, but somebody that makes that kind of money was on the street, we wouldn't have as many of these problems. Right. You know, like, we would have better turnouts, you know, a more intelligent person to talk somebody down from shooting somebody, stealing something, killing themselves. Even that, you know, the mental health aspect of it, where they have so many issues where the cops are called for mental health people that they don't have the training. They don't know how to help them.
They absolutely don't. And, you know, I'm for reforming in the sense of, you want a division of the police department to help handle mental health issues. I'm all for that. But defunding them or diverting money from the police to something else, it's a recipe for disaster. We are going to, like we are seeing in New York, in Chicago, in Baltimore, we're going to see violent crime rates like that in Houston, in Dallas, cities that are otherwise pretty safe. You know, and defunding the police is a thank God non-starter. And as big of a fool Biden is, he's not foolish enough to support that.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm not too worried about it, but I do think it's just a ridiculous path to go down.
Certainly. No, I agree. It's so hard to not get worked up and to want to say what you're really thinking about those things, because we're all in it for the good. Well, the majority of us are in to prosper. Like, that's what we want to see. We want to see everybody live a good life. And for the people that are bringing it down, it's just ignorance.
100%. I want to see everyone succeed.
Sure. I want to close by saying this. Guys, if you like the show, like it. Share it with your friends. Comment. More than anything, we want the audience engagement. That's what we're looking for. Like, I'm trying to field some calls, or some questions, and I've hit most of them. One of the last ones are, why am I against the removal of statues? I'm not against the removal of statues. I'm against the removal of statues that have purpose. That's the problem that I have. Thomas Jefferson, Christopher Columbus, Sam Houston. Do I think those people come down? Absolutely not. They did great things for this country. Some of the Confederate statues, yeah, take them down. But keep in mind, those guys weren't just Confederates. They weren't just slave owners. They weren't just fighting for slavery. The reason they put them up is because they probably did something good along the way also. Like I said, I'm not advocating for the Confederacy or for slavery or any of that. Take them down. But there's still a reason that they got put up.
But take them down in a non-violent mob thug way.
Sure.
Vote on it. This is a democracy. Ask the citizens, does this as a whole, the majority is supposed to rule as a whole, does this offend you? And if it does, then take them down, put them in a warehouse, but decapitating them, destroying them, setting them on fire, all that does is breed hate. Sure. And hate does not solve hate.
Certainly. Matt, thank you for coming tonight, man. It was
No,
a
thanks
pleasure
for
having
having
you. Everybody else, like I said, like it, share it, send us your comments and questions. I'm looking forward to debating and talking about and fielding your questions. I'll see you next week from Unfiltered and Informed, the show that's all about you and I.